Yes, it's an umbrella. Hi there. Today I want to look at what I consider a magnificent piece of engineering. The fold-away umbrella. Brilliant things, lots of mechanisms, lots of things inside them to interest me, and lots of little pivots and rivets through that are quite useful in themselves. If we look at them though, what we find is there's two types. There's this type, which I believe is aluminum or aluminium if you want to call it that, which the parts that are bent and folded here aren't really magnetic. So this is a folded bit and it isn't magnetic because it's aluminium. But the bits, the steel bits, the springy bits, they are magnetic, because making springs with aluminum or aluminium is difficult. So today I'm just looking at steel umbrellas. Sort of cheapo things. Can even get them, I think, in a pound shop in this country for it. They're brilliant because the way they work. If we look at it, what we have is a central tube. Ow! Just bashed me in the face, that didn't help. A central tube which extends downwards, so we've got lots of nice tubes in there. If we look here, look, we've got some of these tubes. This one, for example, they should slide together and come apart, and on them they probably have a slot through which, if I could find it, we probably have a piece of metal like this, cunningly done, and that just goes through the, slides in from the end, part goes into the hole, and then obviously this one isn't the one that goes there. Let's try this one. This one might be more to the better size. So that just goes in, slides in from the end, that little peg there bobs up through the hole, and then the other bit is pushed up through the slot, and then when we push it down it acts as a spring, and that's how that little bit works. Fascinating that. Some of the tubes aren't perfectly round, like these two for example, where they've been flattened on one side so they won't rotate. Still very useful though, I'm sure, if I could find something to do with them. So what have I done with this? Well, if we come back to this particular one, then as the bottom slider slides up or moves up, then the pieces are pushed outwards, and as they go out then they're very cunningly done. So if we can see it, take the magnet off. This one here for example goes outwards, zooming out as this moves up. So that's the key thing, is that the top piece is fastened and this bit slides up and it moves out. So my idea then was, what could I use this for? They're brilliant things, but I've been searching for a long time what to do with them, and at last I think I've got the answer. The answer is a grabber. So how does my grabber work? Well, if I put a bit of card behind, hopefully we can see it easier. And there's my grabber. All the moving bits apart from the screw thread and the motor, of course, are made from an umbrella. What I've done is to put onto the motor, I've put the screw thread, drill the hole in the end 3mm, and then put a 2.5mm screw in from the side, drill the hole and tapped it so that that holds it onto the motor. goes up and down because I was going to put a nut on it, but found that when I put this blue tube into the piece of the umbrella, then that actually works on the thread, so it doesn't need a nut. Works very similar to the umbrella in as much as the top bit is fastened and this bit moves up and down, and as that goes up and down, then these arms are fastened so they can't go up and down, so this goes up and this end goes down. So how have I done it? Well, let's have a look at the umbrella bits that I've used. If I can find some, here we are. Here's some umbrella bits. Now these being steel are quite difficult to cut, and so to cut them I just use my trusty cutting wheel. It's some sort of, wow, dangerous cutting wheel which works very well on steel and things. This is just an electric motor out of a drill with a chuck put on the end, or a pin chuck I think it's called, because it will only take the 3mm, or is it 2mm shaft, something like that anyway. And then this is the sort of thing that you'd find in a Dremel. A Dremel drill would probably be a lot, well, it wouldn't be any better, more expensive, look neater, but this I've just designed so that the case and this contact come together, then it whizzes the motor round. Quite dangerous, but it cuts through the metal, the steel pieces quite easily. The other thing it does as well is when I've got the rivets, if I want to take a rivet out, I just come along, find the part that's folded over, and then just take this and take off that end of the rivet falls out and it makes it a lot easier. So this thing isn't going off all the time. I store it in a piece of plastic tubing and that then works well for me. So how have I done it? Well, the problem with umbrellas is of course that they are always breaking. They blow inside out, and when they go inside out then it bends the structure, and eventually you bend it back again, and eventually of course it breaks. So that's why I have so many broken ones, but they're lovely from the point of view of they've got this nice rod in them, steel rod. They've got these pieces which I think are like piano wire, the springs in there, so they're all very useful. What part of this have I used on my motor? Well, what I managed to do is solder some pieces onto the top of the motor. Might not be a good idea, it might damage the magnets, but so that is that sort of piece. Cut that off at the top, cut it off at the bottom, and then cut this piece off somewhere down so that I can solder another piece on from the bottom so that I can get the length correct. If I have a look then down at the bottom here, this is the piece I've used for the gripper. I've taken this piece off. Is that a spring? Yeah, that's a spring. Taken the spring off and use the piece off the umbrella. They just put the wire round to hold these in place. Very crude, but it seems to work. So taking that off, put that into there, other way up, side down, none for the pot or whatever. That way up, so that goes into there. This piece I've cut off to join onto there, and then this rod that comes out here I've just bent to make the ow, got my finger stuck there. The wire's around the back, that's it, got it out. So where was I? Oh, I bent the wire cut it off, bent it to make the gripper. So the important thing, does it actually work? Well, let's try it. I've got my trusty controller here upside down. Feels like it's coming apart, but will it work? Where is it? There. Yep. So there, the gripper's coming in. There, the gripper's going out. Might be better if we move the camera a touch. There. Will it stay there? Looks like it. So there it is. Push the button one side, goes down, push the button the other side, it goes up. And as it goes down, the gripper goes out, and as it goes up, the gripper goes in. Oh yeah. Right, so where am I? What do I want to do with it? Well, the idea was to pick up something with it, which I seem to have lost. I'm sure it must be around somewhere on the floor. No. We have another one here. It's just a lump of foam rubber, which seems to work well with it. So if I put my gripper here and then move it in, oops, that's out, move it in, then it grips the lump of foam rubber, can move it away, come back again, press the open button, and of course it will drop it. Try again. Go in, pick it up, open, and it drops it. So yeah, it seems to work okay. Not happy with the fact there's only 2 arms on it. I think 3 would be better. But of course this umbrella was designed for 8 arms and therefore wouldn't lend itself to 3 grippers, which would need to be at 120 degree each rather than the 45 degrees or 180, which this is. So yeah, would also need and like to see a switch on the top so that it won't go up too far or down too far. Would need a switch there to stop it from going up, and then probably a switch down at the bottom to stop it opening. But yeah, it works. It's done well, I'm surprised. So yeah, so that's it. That's my gripper. It was designed for my Not Meccano crane, which is what this is, so called because of course it's a copy of Meccano, or a similar idea, but it's based on a 1 centimetre spacing. But this I think would be a bit too big, so I'm going to have a think about that, see what I can do and how I can alter it so I could put it on the crane. Yeah, been interesting, enjoyed building that, chuffed that it works, and also that I found a use for all these broken umbrellas. Well, that's it. Bye now. Bye.